Welcome to the Actum Processing Merchant Portal Transaction Management tutorial. In this video, we will focus on three key topics: creating a transaction in the Actum portal, revoking or refunding a transaction, and editing a recurring transaction. To begin, you can access the Create Transaction page by selecting the Features and Procedures tab on the left-hand side of the navigation menu. As always, if you need help using this feature, remember to check out the Page Help section at the top right corner of the page. To create your transaction, enter the required information into the designated text fields. All fields marked with a red asterisk are required. Additionally, you can utilize the Customer Select list to automatically populate the fields. In case there are no customers listed, you can create a new primary customer by checking the New Primary Customer box and submitting the transaction. If you are unsure of how to create or manage primary customers in our system, please refer to our Customer Management tutorial. Now that we've filled out our customer and billing fields, let's look at the transaction info. At the top, we have three switches that can alter the parameters of the transaction we're sending. Let's say we want to create a recurring transaction. Automatically, the recurring transaction parameters appear on the screen. It's important to note that none of these fields are required. For example, let's submit a recurring debit transaction that bills this customer $100 every month for a year, starting today. Once we have all of our parameters set, we can submit the transaction. We can now see if our transaction was accepted or declined at the bottom of the page in our Transaction Result report. In this case, the report indicates that the transaction was accepted. It's important to always verify your transaction status after submission. Let's say we sent this debit by mistake and would like to revoke this transaction. To do this, navigate to the Transaction Detail report. Select the History ID of the transaction you would like to revoke and choose the option Revoke. Once you've reached the Revoke page, you can review the transaction's details and press Revoke. It's important to note that the transaction must satisfy these parameters in order to be revoked. The transaction type must either be a pre-note or a normal same-day debit or credit. The transaction result must be accepted, and the transaction must not have already been sent to the bank. If your transaction satisfies all these parameters, press Revoke. You will see a green notification box in the top right corner of your screen if the revoke was successful. To further verify that your transaction was revoked, find that transaction in the report and check to see if its trans result is declined. If your transaction has been declined, there are a few things you can do. First, check that all information entered into the fields are accurate and in an acceptable format. The most common reason a transaction will decline is by hitting your credit-debit limits. If your business exceeds these limits, please contact Actum support for a limit increase. To refund a transaction, follow the same steps as the revoke process. Select the History ID of the settlement in which you would like to refund and press Refund. On the Refund page, you should see the transaction's details. Once you've validated that this is the transaction you would like to refund, press the Refund button. If the refund was successful, you will see a green notification box in the top right corner on the screen, as well as an accepted credit transaction at the top of your report. It's important to note that a refund will only be originated once the item has settled. If you refund an item prior to settlement, the refund will be in pending status until settlement. Should the item be returned prior to settlement, the refund will be canceled. In our previous example of revoking a debit transaction, we were successful in revoking the transaction before it was sent to the bank. However, this action does not affect the recurring order that is scheduled to be debited again in a month. To make changes to a recurring order, we need to first go to the Recurring Orders report. In this report, you can view all active recurring orders grouped by date. Let's select the date that our transaction is set to recur on. In this report, we can see all of the recurring orders that are set to be submitted on that day. Select the order you wish to edit. On this page, you can edit the recurring order's amount, status, billing cycle, and the maximum number of times you'd like to bill your customer. To deactivate an order, set the status to Deleted and press Update Order. You will notice that this order does not appear on the report, as it is no longer active. This concludes our tutorial on transaction management. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact Actum support.